Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and today we're going to be talking about manhwa, not manga. I know, shocker. I mentioned this video like weeks ago, but then I started doing all the Pride manga recommendation videos, so I had to like push it back a little bit, but it's okay because look at all the ones that I have right here. I know a lot of these are very popular titles, so some of you might have already read the series on the apps, but I haven't. So this was my very first introduction to manhwa, and I have to say, I am very impressed. Before I start talking about each of the series that I have read, let's talk about the differences between printed manhwa and printed manga. One of the big differences is going to be the size. So here we have a Viz Media manga compared to the Ize Press manhwa. If we want to compare it to an English manga, it's going to be the same size as the Kodansha one. So exactly the same size. So they tend to be larger. They're also more expensive than manga. So Viz Media recently raised their price to $12.99 per volume, and Kodansha, typically something like this would be $17.99, somewhere around there. So manhwa tends to be around the $20 price range, so definitely a little bit more expensive. And another noticeable difference is that all the pages are colored as opposed to manga, which is typically just black and white. Since the pages are all colored, the paper quality also feels different. It just feels much better quality than the manga paper, in my opinion. Another difference is the length of the book. So typically with manga, at least the volumes that I have, they tend to be anywhere between 150 pages long to 170 pages long. Some series are a little bit longer, it just depends on whether the book is a 2-in-1 volume or just the volume itself is just longer. But a lot of the manhwa that I recently read are over 200 pages long, so you get a lot of story in a single book. Editing Laura right here. So I forgot to mention one of the biggest differences between manga and manhwa, and that is not only the way they're printed, but the way you read them. So as you can see, manga, you guys know the way it's printed and the way you read it. So it is printed backwards, as a lot of Americans like to say. And with manga, it would be right, left, we'd go down here, then here, here, here. Again, right to left. With manhwa, it's printed like any other book, and the way you read it is a little bit different, especially if you're used to reading manga. So you would start like this, go down here, and go down here. For me, the first time I did read manhwa, it took me a while to kind of get the pattern right because I was so used to manga. Like, it's not that big of a difference, but when you're so used to something, it's a little bit of a learning curve. So again, the pattern would be you start with this panel up here, and you just get the gist. You'll get used to it. It's just maybe if you're transitioning from manga to manhwa for the first time, maybe the first few pages will feel a little bit awkward. You have to remind yourself that the reading order is slightly different, but you'll get it. Out of the pile of manhwa that I read, I will have to be completely honest, I really enjoyed everything. So there's not a bad story in this pile. But this one happened to be my favorite one out of all of them because you guys know that I love office romances, and this just hit the right spot. So here we have What's Wrong with Secretary Kim. And if you are a fan of, I would say, something like a Maki and Joji, like An Incurable Case of Love, something like maybe a non-spicy version of Tadanorenai Nankarekikonai, aka We Can't Do Just Plain Love. I'm struggling to find a manga that is similar to this one, but it does have those romantic comedy moments similar to a Maki and Joji manga, but without the extra drama. That's all I'm gonna say. So what's wrong with Secretary Kim? You follow, of course, Secretary Kim and her boss, who is this stoic character. Basically, he's the type of character that I absolutely fall in love with. And it happened again. It happened again. He's kind of a jerk. He's very cold. Nobody can figure him out except he knows what he wants. And what he wants is Secretary Kim, who put in her freaking 2 weeks notice and wants to leave the job after so many years working for him. And he's just so determined to get her to not quit. He can't do his job without Secretary Kim. He is willing to do anything. Both characters are older. Kim is about to turn 30. I believe she was like 28 or 29. And this handsome bastard is over 30. So it's just a relatable story for adult readers with nothing. I mean, like I said, there's no spice. There's not a whole ton of like toxic drama, just entertaining drama. But yeah, I read it for the plot. This is the plot. The actual plot is actually very entertaining, and it's very funny to see such a cold, like intimidating boss just try his best to do anything. Like, he is just so, Kim has him wrapped around her little finger. So he's doing anything possible just to keep his secretary on the job, to the point that he's, you know, he's messing up his other interviews with other potential candidates. Like, he just doesn't care. He has absolutely no shame. No shame, but he's still so cold and just cool, calm and collective. Like, he just, he tries his best not to lose his cool. And, you know, Secretary Kim also doesn't lose her cool. Like, she's just like, nope. Like, I want to leave this job. I want to get in a relationship and I want to settle down. This is, this is what I want. I can tell the moment that I get volume 2, I'm just gonna breeze through it because I'm just so like hooked in this. So I definitely recommend it for anyone that loves romantic comedies, especially romantic comedies with characters that are over the age of 25. I know there's a lot of K-dramas that are set in the office space, but damn, like, yeah, Koreans know how to do office romances, because I also read A Business Proposal, and this was also very entertaining. So out of these two, if you were to choose just one office romance, I still like this one. It's just, I don't know, I just connected with the characters a little bit more. Not that anyone was asking, but out of these two black-haired, intimidating bosses, I like this one better. But back to A Business Proposal. So in A Business Proposal, we have exactly that. It's a business proposal. I'm just stating the facts. So the premise with A Business Proposal is that you have Hari Shin, she's a regular office worker, and this man right here is the company's CEO. So the way they meet's a little bit unconventional, but first let's talk a little bit more about Hari, because this kind of plays into how they both meet. Hari happens to be a young woman in her 20s, and she has a huge crush on her friend, but this happens to be a very one-sided crush. And because of that, and because of how her life is just in shambles, she's willing to do anything for a little bit of money and maybe a little bit of romance as well. And with that in mind, we have one of Hari's friends who happens to be one of my favorite characters in the series. So she is a single woman. Her family's kind of pressuring her to settle down and get together with a man. So she's been going on all these blind dates, but she doesn't want to go on this particular blind date, and she wants someone to just screw this date up. Just make a mess out of it, just so this potential partner will just be like, absolutely not, I want nothing to do with her. So she proposes to Hari, why don't you go on this date for me? Just play the role of a femme fatale and just screw everything up for me. And Hari's so desperate for money that she takes the deal. So here we have Hari Shin playing the role of a femme fatale. She gets dressed in like a pink wig, heavy makeup, a very tight form-fitting dress, and she's sent on a date with her company's CEO. She doesn't know it was a CEO until they both meet. And yes, she proceeds to make a fool out of herself. But he's also in a very similar position where his family is just pressuring him to settle down. So he is desperate for a partner. He doesn't care if there's any romantic feelings. He just wants a partner so his family will just leave him alone. So he'll take anyone. And when I say anyone, like, I mean it. The whole femme fatale shtick, it doesn't work. It just left him on face because He was literally going to take any woman that showed up to that date. So for Hadi, tough luck. So throughout the story, you have Hadi, who knows she went on a date with her boss, just trying to avoid him in the office space. And then her boss trying to get on more dates with her because he wants to settle down with her just to, you know, get this family to shut up and leave him alone. And you have her friend just kind of enjoying everything, except for the fact that Hadi's using her name, so everybody thinks that that it's her. So there's just a whole lot of confusion. And then we have this guy who enters the picture, and he happens to work with the CEO. He's not the secretary, but like his partner. And him and Hadi's friend, like, sparks fly basically when they meet. So yeah, it's just messy. There's a lot of confusion. So it's another very enjoyable romantic comedy. I really enjoyed it. My favorite characters out of the whole series were definitely Hadi's friend and the CEO's partner. Like, both of them were just absolutely adorable, and each little scene where they go out, like where they go out together, I just found it so precious. But Hadi is such an entertaining character as well, so I really liked it. I cannot wait to read volume 2 as well. I think that's also going to be another series that I just like speed through it because it was so entertaining. Now for something a little bit different, we have the Remarried Empress, and this was just so dramatic, but so good. so good. I mean, first of all, just look at the cover art. Like, this is absolutely beautiful. So the art in the story, amazing, stunning, gorgeous. Like, it's just so beautiful to see. But the drama within the very first pages, you're presented with so much drama. Basically, you have their relationship that goes down in shambles. You see how they started just childhood friends to lovers. Then they get married and they become emperor and the empress. And then the emperor cheats on his wife. And the empress is not gonna go down. Not gonna go down at all. So she accepts a divorce and then proposes that she wants to get remarried, which is unheard of at that time. And she already has a partner as well, which is someone that nobody wants to see. So, I mean, just with those few pages, I was like, damn. I am really going to enjoy this. So very early on, you meet the mistress, you see the emperor fall in love with the mistress and just completely give the empress the cold shoulder. You're navigating through that whole saga. You're seeing how much tension there is between the empress and the mistress. And the mistress, she looks very sweet, but damn, I don't trust her one bit. Like, look at her. She looks like a little golden retriever, just so happy, but I'm talking about this like I'm talking about like telenovela. Like, it is just so juicy. Just look at them. Just look at them. Descarado. The audacity to do that to his wife, the empress. I'm team empress, as you can tell. So then one day, the empress discovers a bird that has a message attached. And from there, she forms this bond with a mysterious pen pal, which happens to be the prince from another town. And this bird is no ordinary bird because the bird that has been delivering the message happens to be a very handsome man. Let me just like look at him. Just look at him. Look at him. So yes, we have that right there. And then you get to see this whole New Year celebration, which gets so messy and so dramatic. I'm not gonna spoil anything because damn, it was only like 3 days that you were following, 3 or 4 days, but the drama that they managed to fit within that New Year celebration, it was good. The Empress is such a badass. Like, I absolutely loved her. She's pretty intimidating as well, which is very cool to see for a female character. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, drama, so much drama. But I mean, look at the art. It is just so beautiful. The first time she discovers the bird, like, it is just so detailed. So yeah, if you like drama, messy drama, you like historical fantasy stories, you'll really enjoy this one. If you happen to like isekai stories like I do, I don't talk about them all that often, but if you guys want me to make a video about the ones that I do like, I can definitely do that. But villains are destined to die. This is an isekai story with a lot of drama. With this first volume, I will have to be completely honest, there is so much backstory that you don't start to get the actual story set in this universe until like halfway through the book. So the first half reads very slow. But you do kind of need to have the backstory on not only the game that the isekai world takes place in, but you also need the backstory on the person that's playing the game and ends up stuck in this isekai universe. When we first get introduced to our protagonist Yvonne, we meet her as a young child who loses her mother and has to go and live with her father and his two sons. Despite having the Cinderella story of going to live with a much richer family, her new family is not very welcoming towards her and in fact makes her life a complete living hell. So once she gets the opportunity to go study in university, like, she takes that opportunity and leaves her house just to get some freedom. And it is in her university that she gets introduced to this otome game that all the other girls in her class are playing. And at first she's just kind of like, what is this game? Like, why is everyone so obsessed with trying to romance all these like fictional men? Like, she just doesn't see the point of it. But as she gets into the game, she first beats the easy levels, like that's fine. But the hard levels, that's where she becomes so incredibly obsessed to the point that she's like not getting any sleep. Like, this is basically her life, which is relatable because if you've ever gotten so into otome games, like, you start off just like playing like casually and then you're just there for hours and days turn into weeks and then months, and then next thing you know, you spend a couple $100. True story. It happened to me. Thanks, Tears of Themis. Then, since this is an isekai story, the typical isekai thing happens and she gets reincarnated into this world. But instead of being reincarnated as the protagonist of the game, she gets reincarnated as the antagonist, the villainess, Penelope Eckhart. So now she gets to live life as the villainess of the game that she was playing, and she finds out that her life and Penelope's life are very similar to one another. They're both stuck living in this house with a paternal figure that they have no connection with, and two brothers are just making her life a living hell. Just like with any other otome game, she does have to improve relationships in order to get by and advance, and she does eventually have to get in some sort of romantic relationship with one of four guys. So you meet the first two, which are the stepbrothers, which have absolutely no blood relation to her. And then you also meet another character. I think I did mark it just because like, this guy was just so handsome. Well, you have this guy as well. I'm not gonna say who is who. And then you have this guy with his beautiful white hair. Oh, I forgot, there's also another guy. So you get a few different like love interests that she's gonna have to pick one of them to eventually like advance and try not to die in this world. Yeah, like I mentioned, the first half of the book, you just get the backstory. Second half, that's where the drama like really picks up. It's not as messy of a drama like the Remarried Empress, like there's no mistresses or anything like that, but it's just interesting seeing the protagonist navigate life as Penelope and try her best not to screw up and basically die in this universe, because she doesn't know if she dies whether she's going to be reborn in her like human life. So there's just so much uncertainty about what will happen if it's game over within this universe. So yes, I highly recommend this. I know volume 2 is already out. I think volume 3 is out as well. I'll have to check, but I am definitely going to keep reading this series. Like, I am very intrigued. This next series is one that Ize Press actually sent me a copy of. So they did not pay me to talk about this. They just sent me a box of a few manhwas, including some of these guys that I already mentioned, but since I had already purchased these from Barnes & Noble, I just gave the extras to one of my close friends so she could read them. But this one was one that they sent me, so I just want to put that out there. So this is My Gently Raised Beast. And from the cover, I thought this was going to be more of a, I don't know, just very fluffy read. And there were some fluffy parts, but this was surprisingly much darker than I thought it would be. So we follow this young girl who is living life by herself. Her name is Blondina, and we meet her in a very sad and desperate state. She's just trying her best to survive. She gets beaten, she gets bullied, she gets tormented by these grown men, and all she wants is to find a safe place. She is in such an unsafe place that she's literally going to be sold off to another man, and she just runs away. She runs away and tries to resell her most prized possession, which is this valuable ring, which happens to be the ring that the royals have. So instead, she actually gets taken to the palace and gets introduced to, kind of sounds very similar to this actually. And she gets introduced to her father, who is the king. So she gets a Cinderella story, from being out in the streets to living in the palace. But much like villains are destined to die, there's also two step siblings who make her life a living hell. So they are rude, they're unwelcoming, they talk bad about her. They just basically try to make her life a living hell. So she is brand new in this palace, brand new to this noble world, with really no one to be friends with. But at the same time, she's thankful that she's out of her situation and she's in a safe place. So she's kind of in a little bit of a limbo. And then all of a sudden, she meets this very mysterious beast. She meets this little cat in one of the gardens, but it's no ordinary cat. This is actually a very menacing panther that talks. So you can see it's a little bit of a sassy cat. But like I said, he's no ordinary cat because he can actually turn into his human form. And this is his human form. He's so cute. Like, they're both absolutely adorable. On a random note, his very feline features in the little mouth remind me so much of Rui from Project Sekai. So I just wanted to get that out there. So from there, Amon and Blondina form this very special bond. He becomes one of her first friends in the palace, although he's technically not supposed to be in the palace, but he still likes to hang out in the palace in the form of a cat. And then he becomes very protective over her. So they learn to kind of depend on one another and just confide in one another. So you see a lot of their adventures in the palace. He later starts teaching her how to write and read. So it's a very cute friendship that gets documented. You also get to see a lot of very tense moments between Blondina and her half-siblings and some backstory as well. It's laid out really well. Like, I was not expecting to actually like it as much because at first glance, I thought this was meant for kids and it was just going to be very silly and fluffy, but I was pleasantly surprised by the drama, the sad moments, and also the characters themselves are quite fleshed out as well. So it was just a very entertaining read. Sure, there are some very silly moments with Blondina and Amon as a cat. There's some very cute moments as well. There's also a lot of drama that will be unfolding because we have Amon, who is a beast that is not welcome in the palace premises. And you get more information too about how tense the situation is between this kingdom and the beast. So yeah, I am definitely looking forward to reading volume 2. And the very last series is one that I know is super famous. It's a pretty big series. It's True Beauty. So they finally started selling the physical copies of True Beauty, and they're sold like pretty much anywhere. Like I found mine at Target, I've seen them at Walmart as well, so they're going hard on True Beauty. And I mean, rightfully so, because it's such a well-loved series. So this follows a young girl who is a little bit of an ugly duckling. She's an otaku. She loves her manga. She likes her horror music, and she likes rock music as well. So she's very much a misfit. And you follow her as she goes to high school. She gets teased, she gets bullied, none of the boys like her. So homegirl decides to give herself a makeover so her classmates will like her, and so boys will like her as well. I know, very vain reasons to give yourself a makeover. At first, the makeover doesn't go very well, as you can see right there. But then she goes into an online forum and she gets more advice from the people in the forum, and she gives herself a makeover to the point that people don't even recognize her. So that's how she begins her high school life, as this girl, a beautiful girl that everyone is just like so dumbfounded by her beauty. And she still has a very nerdy persona, like she didn't let that go completely. But whenever she does go out to buy her manga, she's never dolled up, she's just kind of being herself. And that's where she meets this guy. So it's a very, out of all of these, the premise isn't the most like, wow, in my opinion. Like it's very simple. It's ugly duckling gets a makeover. Everybody likes her because she's so damn pretty. You also get introduced to this person who tries to befriend her for very bad reasons. And you get your high school gossip and drama, and her just trying to navigate through her feelings because this very cold, stoic dude is attractive, but he's also a jerk as well. So that's basically the premise with True Beauty. It's a very simple plot, and I will have to be honest, out of all the ones that I read, this one was the one that I connected to the least. And I thought I would connect to it more because I do love makeup, I love beauty, I love the art of transforming yourself. But at the same time, I know maybe this will probably be fleshed out in the later volumes, like you can like all these things. You can love makeup and transforming and, you know, making yourself look and feel pretty, but at the same time, like you can still like your nerdy stuff without having to hide that. But I mean, she's a high schooler. When I was in high school too, there were things that would make me embarrassed, so I would try my best to like keep the anime and all that stuff hidden. So yeah, I think maybe because I'm older than reading about a high schooler that would do similar things to when I was in high school and just be ashamed of being their true selves. Like maybe that's why I'm just kind of like, girl, it's not that big of a deal. I know volume 2 is out. I will be picking it up. I'm just not rushing to pick it up. So that's it for this video. If you've read any of these manhwas, let me know in the comments below, and if you have any other suggestions, let me know as well. I know now that there's more manhwa series getting printed, I'm definitely going to be buying and reading them as well. I can read them on apps. It's just, you know, I find it very distracting when I read on my iPad because then I get notifications from other apps, or I just get tempted and just swipe to another app, and it just becomes, I don't know, I just like a tangible book. For me and my brain, I can just focus on a physical copy so much better than actually reading it from an app. I know there's more manhwa series getting licensed for physical copies, so there's definitely a lot of manhwa to look forward to in bookstores, which is very exciting. But if you happen to be brand new, make sure to subscribe to keep up with my videos, and I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye!